You know what's a big JRPG pet peeve of mine? Let's see, how about when you can't pet pets in video games? Like, Ease, let me pet a Picard, please. Hey everyone, how's it going? Total Level here with another JRPG discussion video for you. This time discussing about kind of my 10 most pet peeves with JRPGs, because I love JRPGs, they are super fun, I love them to death, but you know, some of my biggest pet peeves with any sort of video games actually happen in JRPGs. Now, if they're really great games and everything, I'm able to easily pass them and everything like that, still enjoy the game, but they still annoy me, right? So I thought it'd be fun just, looking at things that maybe kind of frustrate me a little bit with them. So, I have these in order. I wrote them down because I'm old school that way. So, at number 10, I have just dialogue that goes nowhere. Now, there's a lot of JRPGs that do this, and for the most part, it's kind of why it's at the bottom. It doesn't really bother me. Some of these conversations I find funny, hilarious, or super silly, stuff like that, but sometimes, some pieces of dialogue just go on and on and on without any resolve or moving the story forward, right? And it's a big reason why, I love the Trails games and all that, but it's a reason why I can understand why others don't, because those series has so much dialogue, those games have a ton of dialogue, right? And a lot of the times they don't really go anywhere, and if you're not feeling the story of a game, that piece of dialogue can just really drag on. Right now, again, I love Trails, but it's just an example that I know a lot of people don't because of the dialogue in it, right? And then at number 9, I have endless Gauntlet battles. So again, this one doesn't bother me too much, because one of the funnest parts of JRPGs is getting to the end, knowing you're fighting either the same boss in 3 or 4 different forms, or you're fighting 5 different bosses at once, right? But sometimes it can really get on you and really just drag on, especially, which we'll get to this later on my list, especially for older games where if you fail, you're starting from the very beginning, right? So a lot of those Gauntlet type of battles that usually happen near the end of games, sometimes it can happen in the middle or wherever, where it's just wave after wave after wave of fighting, whether it's regular enemies or bosses. It just can get a bit excessive, right? And speaking of excessive, next up I have excessive grinding and backtracking. So for the backtracking part, this doesn't bother me too much. It's funny, I don't really like Metroidvania games because of the amount of backtracking in those, but when it comes to JRPGs or just RPGs in general, backtracking I don't mind, because usually when you backtrack, it's part of the main story, or or you're just trying to complete a certain side quest or whatever. But sometimes backtracking can get way too much of, especially quests where it's you get one part of the quest, you go and do it, you go back to the person who gave you the quest, and then that person gives you another part of the quest. It's just give me the whole thing at once, right? It's really annoying when you keep having to backtrack for no real reason, I find. And then for excessive grinding, again, a lot of games I don't actually mind grinding in games, because sometimes it can be kind of relaxing, chill, zen, all that sort of stuff. And as long as you're working towards a goal, or you're constantly kind of gaining experience, gaining money, it's not too bad. But when you get games where you're just grinding and grinding and grinding for a long time without any progress, without really gaining money, and it's a big reason why I don't like the Neptunia games at all, because I said about excessive dialogue, those games have that, along with excessive just grinding, because I think the first game I played the remake of it, the Rebirth or whatever, and even that one took about like 6-7 hours of grinding just to get through the first boss. Like, that is just way too much and wasn't rewarding at all to me. And then I alluded this with the Gauntlet battles, but yeah, at number 7 I have where you have to start over at the beginning of a long battle. So modern games have done a lot better with this. It's why it's not as high on the list, because usually modern JRPGs are a lot kinder, you know, like people kind of complain about games being too easy, holding your hand a bit too much, but this part I don't mind with modern games. So, you know, you're in a long boss battle, but you lose on like the 8th fight of that battle, but there's a checkpoint to restart right at the 8th fight, right? I really like that, but for old school retro games, it was really frustrating when you got really far and you're doing like these 1 hour cutscenes along with like a long battle, and then you mess something up, you die in that battle, and then, oh yeah, because older games, a lot of them, you couldn't skip cutscenes and all that, so you have to rewatch the whole cutscene again and battle, and I think it's why if I play a lot of older RPGs, even if I have the game physically, I still prefer playing them in an emulated form, just so I don't have to worry about, yeah, save points, along with, you know, losing a long battle that I can put a save state in and just retry from, yeah, that save state. Then at number 6, I have high encounter rates for, you know, your random battle encounters rates. So again, a lot of this is more old school stuff, you know, modern games don't have this as much, but yeah, a lot older games, like some areas just have ridiculous amounts of encounter rates. I think with Pokemon, and you know, I love Pokemon, but the old games with the victory roads and all that, where you have not just the high encounter rates, but trainers all over the place, which made that a grind, even if you're just running away from every battle, except for, of course, the trainer battles. But yeah, it's just, you know, I love, you know, I'm one of those people who doesn't mind, like, old games with, you know, random encounter rates and all that, but when they're super high and you're just trying to get out the dungeon and you're trying to get back into town and you can't, it's really frustrating when you get into battle after battle after battle after battle. And then at number 5, another kind of old school style that you don't see as much, but it's kind of, where do I go? You know, a lot of old games, you really have to pay attention to the text, the dialogue of what they say, where to go. And the thing is too, with older games, because translation wasn't, you know, always accurate. I mean, I'm not sure there's one JRPG out there, old school, that wasn't 100% translated properly, right? But you have a lot of those old ones where you have to pay attention to where you go, and then if it's poorly translated, like, you really might not know where to go, and it's something that you really have to keep playing all the way through, because if you just stop playing, oh man, like, you come back in a month and you pretty much feel like you have to start the game over. Like, now, it's not super high, like, it's kind of in the middle of my list, because now, of course, the internet, everyone has guides for everything, whether it's video guides or written ones, right? You have a lot of access, and again, modern games, not real, like, you don't really see this in modern games, so not too bad. But yes, it is a bit of a pet peeve when you just have no idea where to go, or you get areas where you need a certain item and they're very cryptic in their messages of where to get this item, which, yeah, video I'm doing on a certain game, I found that, so yeah, just a little teaser for you of an upcoming video possibly. And yeah, at number 4, yeah, this one's quite annoying, is when JRPGs require you to do certain side quests and or mini games to progress through the main story. Now, I love a lot of mini games and a lot of games, and for, you know, the biggest one being fishing mini games, I'm more neutral towards fishing mini games. I don't hate them, but they're also far from my favorite, right? They're just kind of, they're part of it. It's like, okay, this is okay, but yeah, it's really annoying when they force you, like, as much as I love Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and I love Queen's Blood and all that, it was kind of annoying that, you know, sometimes you just didn't really feel up to play the mini game, right? But you kind of had to keep the story going, right? And not that you had to win or anything, but still, you had to kind of play that. It's the same, like, I love Final Fantasy X, I love Blitzball, but you do have to play one match. You don't have to win it, but you do have to play it to keep going with the main story, right? And then the big one is required side quests. I just hate when games require you, like, not just JRPGs, any game that require you to do side quests to beat the main game, right? Because big one for me, and I love this expansion, was Xenoblade Chronicles 2, the Torna expansion. I love that so much, but it was annoying that you had to do, I think, every side quest, or just about, because you had like this community and you had to build the community, and in order to do that you had to do these side quests that were very tedious, you know, not super fun or even interesting in backstory to me personally, right? I love the story of Xenoblade Chronicles 2, and I love the Torna expansion, getting the prologue of what led up to the events of Xenoblade 2, right? But it was annoying to do all those side quests to kind of beat that expansion. And then at number 3, I have Missable Items, so this one always bugs me. When I play any game, I do like to try and do as much as I can. You know, it depends on the game, right? Like, sometimes I'm just like, yeah, let me get through the game story, play on easy mode, and just beat it, right? But a lot of the times I do enjoy kind of the side stuff, not exactly the quests themselves, because a lot of side quests on JRPGs are gathering quests or monster hunts or whatever, but a lot of the times you get, you know, depending on how well they're done, like, you can get some cool backstory, you can get some world building, things like that, right? But it's really annoying when you have missable items, and you know, again, thankfully for online and all that, but a lot of the times I don't like using walkthroughs when playing games too, right? I just want to kind of go in blind and try and get through it, but it sucks when you see, say, a chest in a certain dungeon that, you know, you're trying to get it for a long time, and it's like, nope, you can't get it right now, you have to come backtrack, you know, like 3 hours in just to get, you know, essentially usually what's like some, basic armor equipment, or even just a simple potion, right? So it wasn't really worth waiting to come back for. Or you get ones where, you know, you have a situation like that, then you get into another dungeon where it looks completely inaccessible to get this item, and then you find out that because you progress so much that some earthquake happens or some random event that now you're prevented from ever going in that cave, and you can never get that item. And yeah, if you didn't save or anything, then you're starting all the way over if you want that item, which leads me to number 2 on my list, and that's when JRPGs give you one save and one save only. So I talked about Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Again, love that game, but why do we only have one save for a 100-hour game, right? And there's parts in that game too where once you get near the end, things are completely inaccessible to you, which means you're like either just beating the game and then restarting on New Game Plus, or you're starting the entire thing over, and yeah, that's just really annoying. And all Xenoblade games have very few saves, like 3 or whatever, right? And Xenoblade 2 just 1, but yeah, I hate when JRPGs just have 1 to 3 saves, very little save slots, because, they're very long games, and a lot of the times, maybe it's not even about, like, saving to make sure you don't get stuck anywhere, or make sure you don't miss a certain key item or ultimate weapon or anything. Sometimes you just want multiple saves so that you can go back to a save that's like 30 hours in to replay one of your favorite parts of the game, right? And it's so frustrating when you get one save and one save only, right? And then my number one JRPG pet peeve, which is a pet peeve for any game, anything like that, and that's when you get these low percentage rare item quests, gathering quests that you have to do. I hate it so much. So for a game like Ys, I don't mind it, because for Ys you get different equipment that allows you to gain rare items a lot more frequently. Plus that game doesn't really, it does a good job of kind of letting you get these items in. You might have to grind a little bit, but they're not super, super rare, right? But some games, I'll never 100% Xenoblade game, because, yeah, screw the gathering quests on that and trying to get the right item. And then another game I'll never 100%, which I love this game, is Ni no Kuni, because the gathering quests in that game are ridiculous. I think once you beat the game, you get, because the version we got has extra DLC, right? And I think for DLC quests, they make gathering quests and certain items so rare that I think some people have to spend 1 to 2 months grinding just to hopefully get one item they need, right? And that drives me insane when you have just these gathering quests, especially if it, luckily a lot of the times they're not required or anything, but sometimes, if you want a certain item or a certain rare item, certain ultimate weapon, and you just cannot get this one item, I don't know, it's the biggest annoyance, the biggest pet peeve I have is when you just can't get this item because you have a 1 in a million shot of getting the item, right? So those are my top 10 pet peeves for JRPGs. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know in the comments, which of these JRPG pet peeves you agree with, which ones that I didn't talk about that you would put on your own list. Let me know in the comments down below. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you enjoyed me ranting a little bit here. It's not too often I do a video like this, so I hope you enjoyed this different take, and I'll see you next time, everyone. Thanks, have a great rest of your day. Hey everyone, hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to leave a like and comment, and subscribe if you want to see more, or if you just want to see any of my skits and then nothing else and leave the video, that's fine too. Thanks everyone, take care.